let's start our topic today. This is the next chapter which we are going to cover for this term. It is chapter 30. Okay, so we are done with chapter 19 wherein we studied about the protists and fungi. Now we are going to study about the various systems of the human body, starting with the respiratory and the circulatory systems. Okay, we are on page number 850 from your textbook. The chapter is chapter 30, respiratory and circulatory systems. Okay, so let's start by discussing a hadith which is related to the respiration of the animals from the Quran. Okay, so respiratory system in animals, it is miracles of the Quran. The respiratory system of animals vary as much as their digestive systems do to suit the environments in which they live. So animals that live on land, they have huge lungs that work in a similar fashion to human lungs and do all that is required to exchange carbon dioxide, which is exhaled, and oxygen, which is inhaled, via openings in the nose, the larynx and trachea. So it shows in the diagram as to how the respiratory organs of animals are made in such a complex way that you are able to take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Subhanallah. So this is mentioned as miracles, scientific miracles in the Quran. Okay, so let's start on the positive note.
Miss?
Yeah. Okay, so the objective for this topic is to describe the respiratory system and its functions, and also to describe the circulatory system and its functions, and to study the relation between the respiratory and the circulatory systems. Okay, so before we move on, let's do a KWL. What can you see in this picture here? Girls? What are the organs with which we breathe? Which are our respiratory organs? Hello. What are our respiratory organs known as? Girls? Can someone please answer? Dana Ahmed. Are you present in the class or no? I want you to all answer to my questions, please. Aisha, can you hear me?
Miss, what is your question?
Yeah. Nihal, my dear.
Yes.
What are our respiratory organs?
Lungs.
Very good. Thank you for the answer, Nihal. So what can you see in this picture over here? Are these lungs?
No. Blood.
No. Yeah. So what are they? Can you interpret what are they?
Blood vessels. I don't know.
They are not actually blood vessels. They are alveoli. Okay, you know what are alveoli?
No.
Okay, so these are the lungs. This is the picture of the lungs. The lungs, they divide into bronchi. Okay, these branches which you can see in this picture, they are known as bronchi, and the bronchi, they divide into smaller and smaller branches that resemble the limbs and twigs of a tree, as you can see in this picture here. Now the smallest branches are known as branchioles, and they end in clusters of tiny air sacs known as alveoli. Okay, so these which you can see in this picture over here are alveoli, and one air sac is called an alveolus. The lungs, they have a huge number of alveoli, from 300 to 600 million in number. Okay, and they give the lungs massive surface area for absorption of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide. Alveoli's function is the exchange of gases in the lungs. Is it clear? Okay. I sent a YouTube video on the group for you to watch. Did you all watch the video? Girls? Can someone please explain about the video? Who all watched the video? You want me to play it again? Girls, you need to be interactive. You can't just keep quiet and I can't keep on talking and talking. You need to answer to the questions. Aisha, did I ask you to assign 2 girls each day to explain about the video and also to recap the session? Didn't I? Okay, so this was the video which I sent on the group. I shall quickly play it for you, but before that, let me open the system sound. Okay. Oops. No, I don't have access to YouTube here. I will not be able to play it. Okay, no problem. Okay, if nobody wants to talk about it, I shall explain that the video was basically about the relation between the respiratory and the circulatory systems and how they work hand in hand for the not only for the exchange of gases but also for the various the circulation of the pure blood from the heart to the rest of the organs, and also the impure blood from the rest of the organs to the heart. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to study about the relation between the respiratory and the circulatory systems. Okay, so this photograph which you can see on the screen over here, it shows a resin cast of the thousands of vessels that supply blood and air to your lungs. Okay, so this is a cross section of your lungs. So as you take a breath every 3 to 5 seconds, this network takes in oxygen and expels carbon dioxide. Pollution, disease or injury can damage this intricate network, literally taking your breath away. Okay, so lungs are your respiratory organs. They take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide every 3 to 5 seconds. And if this intricate structure is damaged due to smoking or due to any type of disease or pollution, then you might get various respiratory problems. Okay, so let's move on to our topic today. The key concept for this topic is the respiratory and circulatory systems. They bring in oxygen and nutrients to the cells. Now you have thousands of kilometers of blood vessels in your body and several 100 million tiny air sacs in your lungs. The tiny air sacs in your lungs are the alveoli, which I just mentioned about, which help in the exchange of gases. Whereas the blood vessels which are in your body, if you measure them, there are kilometers of blood vessels in your body. Okay, blood circulates constantly through the vessels when air continually fills and empties from the tiny air sacs. So your heart, it keeps beating, and your lungs, they keep working 24 hours a day, every day of your life. Even more amazing, everything works without your having to think about it. Okay, so all these are involuntary actions which are taking place in your body without you knowing. Your heart and your lungs, they are functioning continuously from the time you were born without stopping. So if your heart stops, obviously you will die. Okay, so the various systems in your body are working continuously, even while you're at rest, even while you're sleeping. They are working for your body to function each and every minute. Okay, so let's talk about how these respiratory and circulatory systems, they work together to maintain homeostasis. Now, who's going to define what is homeostasis? Girls, can you please tell me what is homeostasis?
Yes.
Yeah, can you please define?
It's the body temperature.
Only the body temperature?
Yeah.
No, it's not only the body temperature. Along with the body temperature, there are many things which are maintained constant or stable in your body, like your blood pressure, your blood sugar levels, your heartbeat, your hormone secretion, and what are the other things? Your pulse rate. So all these things, they need to be maintained constant in your body so that your body functions properly, right? So how do you define homeostasis? You have been studying homeostasis right from your grade 5, if I'm not wrong, right? So how do you define homeostasis? It is the ability to maintain a stable internal environment in the body. Okay, a stable internal environment in the body is maintained because of the homeostasis, and it is very, very important for you to survive and for you to lead a healthy life. Okay, so every cell in your body, it needs nutrients and oxygen to function and needs to get rid of its waste products, right? So the circulatory system is the body system that transports blood and other materials. It brings vital supplies to the cells and carries away the waste. It brings the oxygen to the various cells and it carries away waste from those cells. So the blood vessels of the circulatory system also keep oxygen-poor blood from mixing with the oxygen-rich blood. The respiratory system is the body system in which gas exchange takes place. You can think of your respiratory system as a major supply depot where the blood can pick up oxygen and deposit excess carbon dioxide. Okay, so the circulatory system and the respiratory system, they work hand in hand by carrying the oxygen, pure blood to the cells, and by collecting the oxygen, deoxygenated blood back from the cells. That is by collecting the waste back from the cells. So the lungs of the respiratory system are the only place in your body where gases in the blood are exchanged with gases from the atmosphere. So it is in the lungs wherein the gases exchange takes place. As we take in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide, this exchange takes place in our lungs. So the respiratory and circulatory system, they work closely together to maintain homeostasis in the face of constant change. Every time you exercise, lie down to rest, or simply stand up, you change your needs for oxygen and nutrients. Okay, for example, when we are at rest, when we are sleeping, do we still need oxygen when we are sleeping? Are we still breathing when we are sleeping, girls?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And do we need the same amount of oxygen when we are sleeping or when we are doing vigorous exercise?
No.
No. We need more oxygen when we are doing vigorous exercise or when we are running or when we are doing any activity compared to when we are sitting or when we are relaxing, right? So that means the needs of the oxygen, they change depending upon the activity which you do. So every time you exercise, you lie down to rest or simply stand up, you change your needs for oxygen and nutrients. As a result, your heart, it speeds up or slows down and you breathe faster or slower depending upon your activity. You must have noticed that when you're doing some exercise, you breathe faster and your heart, it beats faster, pumping more blood. Okay, that means it is supplying your body and your cells with more oxygen and with more nutrients when you're doing any vigorous exercise. So this section, it gives you an overview of the major structures of the respiratory and the circulatory systems and their functions. Okay, so we are going to study about that. So as you can see on the slide, the circulatory system, what does it do? It transports blood and other materials to various cells in your body. As you can see, this is the circulatory system which is in red. Okay, it brings supplies to the cells. It carries away the waste from the cells and separates oxygen-poor and oxygen-rich blood. You can see the arteries in blue and veins in red over here. So they have different functions in carrying the oxygen-rich blood to the various cells of the body from the heart and carrying the oxygen-poor blood from various cells of the body back to the heart again. Okay, so this is how the circulatory system and the respiratory system, they function. So in these slides you have the notes, the matter about how they function. So before we move on, this is the picture which you can see on your page number 853. So this is the picture of your lungs, specialized structure. They move air into and out of your body. So you can see the various structures of your respiratory system, the lungs, starting from the sinus over here. Okay, so this particular thing, it is the sinus. Then you can see the nose beneath it. Then you can see the mouth. Okay, and this is the epiglottis. And it opens into tracheae. This is tracheae, and they open into the lungs. Okay, so these are the various structures in your respiratory system. So how do the structures in the lungs increase their surface area? So we were talking about this alveoli which are present in the lungs, which help in increasing the surface area of the lungs. So we shall discuss how do they do that. Before that, I have a question for you. When you stand up after lying down, why do your heart rate and breathing rate increase? Girls, for example, when you're sleeping and after you wake up from your sleep, you're standing up. You're standing up and you're moving now to do some activity. So why does your heart rate and breathing rate increase when you're standing up and you're doing some activity? Girls? It is because as the activity level increases, the breathing and heart rate also increases in order to provide enough energy to your body. So as and when you're doing any activity like the daily activities like you taking a bath and you're eating, studying, all these are normal activities for which you need energy. Plus, whenever you're doing any vigorous exercise or vigorous activity or you're running, then your heartbeat increases even more. Why? Because you're pumping in more blood depending upon the requirement of your body. Okay. So now let's talk about the respiratory system. It moves gases into and out of the blood. How does it do that? The function of the respiratory system is to bring oxygen into the body and to expel carbon dioxide and water vapor. Right? We all know that we take in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide, whereas the plants, they take in carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. So the structures of this system bring the gases in close contact with the blood, which absorbs oxygen. The circulatory system then carries oxygen to all the body cells and transports carbon dioxide from the rest of the body to the lungs where it is exhaled. Okay, so what do these lungs do? Whenever we are breathing in oxygen, now what happens to this oxygen? This oxygen, it is absorbed into the blood. Okay, then the circulatory system, it carries the oxygen to all the body cells and transports all the body cells. They are provided with the oxygen through the circulatory system, and from those cells the carbon dioxide, it is collected and brought back to the lungs, from where the carbon dioxide is exhaled out. Okay, so the specialized structures of the respiratory system are the lungs. The nose and the mouth are the entry points to the system. As we can see in this picture, the nose and the mouth are the entry points to the respiratory system. When the air enters the nose, mucus that lines the nasal passages warms and moistens the air. When we take in oxygen through our nose, when we breathe in oxygen, so the mucous membranes that lines our nasal passages, what does it do? It warms and moistens the air. Then the mucus and tiny hairs called the cilia, they help filter dust and pathogens from the air. So inside our nose, you must have noticed there are tiny hairs which are known as cilia. Now what is the function of this hair which is present inside our nose? We might feel irritated as to why there is hair even inside our nose, making it very disgusting or giving an uncomfortable feeling. right? But there is a use for that. What is the use of the presence of these cilia or the fine hair in our nostrils? They help in filtering the dust and pathogens from the air. When we are breathing in oxygen, these tiny hairs, they help in filtering that oxygen by removing any dust particles or any pathogens by blocking them in the nose itself, in these hairs without them entering our system. Okay, then at the back of the throat, a small piece of tissue, which is the epiglottis, which you can see, this is the epiglottis which is present at the back of the throat. It regulates the airflow into the trachea or the windpipe. So it opens and closes. This is the windpipe or tracheae. Okay, and this epiglottis, it opens and closes and it allows the air to enter this trachea and the lungs. Okay, so the trachea are the long structure. They're made up of a soft tissue reinforced with C-shaped rings of cartilage. Now this trachea, it is a soft tissue made up of C-shaped rings. Okay, and it resembles the hose of a vacuum cleaner. You must have noticed how the pipe of a vacuum cleaner is, or of a washing machine that removes the excess water. Have you ever seen the pipe of the vacuum cleaner or washing machine? Girls? So how is it? It is like with C-shaped rings, right? It is exactly how even our trachea is. It resembles a hose of a vacuum cleaner. So when you swallow, the epiglottis closes the entrance to the trachea to keep food or saliva from entering the airways. So whenever you're swallowing the food, this epiglottis, it closes. Why? Because this is the air pipe. And besides this, you also have the food pipe. So whenever you're eating, to avoid the food entering into the air pipe, this epiglottis, it closes. But sometimes it happens when you're talking while you're eating, the food, it happens to enter the air pipe, the trachea. That is when what do you say? You cough while you're eating sometimes, right? What do you call it? Sometimes the food, it goes into your air pipe and you start immediately coughing up the food and then it comes out. Okay, so that is why you should not talk while you're eating. So what is the function of this epiglottis? It closes whenever you're eating and trying to swallow the food so that the food enters the food pipe but not the windpipe. Okay. It closes the entrance of trachea to keep food or saliva from entering the airways. The trachea divides into two bronchi with one branch going to each lung. So you can see these are the two bronchi which again open up into the each lung. Okay, so these are the various parts of your respiratory system. Now the lungs are the organs that absorb oxygen from the air you inhale. So inside the lungs, the bronchi, they divide into smaller and smaller branches that resemble the limbs and twigs of a tree. So as I showed you in the picture, this is how the lungs, they divide into smaller branches known as bronchi. Okay. Then the smallest branches, the bronchioles, they end in clusters of tiny air sacs known as alveoli. Now each of this branch, it again ends up into a cluster of air sacs known as alveoli. Okay, so these are the bronchi, the tubes which you can see, and these are the clusters of air sacs which are known as alveoli, which you can see in this picture. Now each sac is known as alveolus. The lungs, they have huge number of alveoli from 300 to 600 million. This huge number of alveoli, they give the lungs a massive surface area for absorption of oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide and water vapor. Lung tissue is spongy and elastic, which allows the lungs to expand and contract as you breathe. And lung mucus and cilia, they help trap and remove foreign materials and pathogens. So whenever you're breathing in air, your lungs, they expand, and whenever you're exhaling, they contract. Okay, so this exchange of gases takes place when you're breathing in oxygen and you're breathing out carbon dioxide and also water vapor along with it. So what do these alveoli do? They increase the surface area of your lungs, making the exchange of gases very easy. Okay, so the mechanism of breathing involves the muscles of the ribcage. So whenever you're breathing, you must have also observed that there is a structure on top of your lungs known as diaphragm. You know what is the diaphragm? This bony structure which you can see which covers the lungs is known as a diaphragm. So whenever you're breathing, your diaphragm it moves up, and whenever you're exhaling, or when you're taking out or breathing out carbon dioxide, your diaphragm it flattens. Okay, so this mechanism of breathing it involves the muscles of the rib cage and the diaphragm, as you can see in this picture. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle at the base of the rib cage. As you can see, this is the diaphragm and this is your rib cage. Okay, so when you inhale, the muscles of the rib cage they contract, causing the rib cage to expand. Okay, then the diaphragm then flattens and moves downwards. You can see this is how the diaphragm it moves downwards whenever you're inhaling the air and whenever your lungs they expand. The volume of your lungs increases and the air pressure decreases, falling below the air pressure outside your body. Now gases move from areas of greater pressure to areas of lower pressure, so air flows into the lungs. Then when you exhale, the ribcage muscles they relax like this and the ribcage becomes smaller. The diaphragm also relaxes, causing it to rise and regain its dome-like shape. Now the air pressure inside your lungs is greater than the air pressure outside your body, so the air flows out. Okay, so this is what happens when you're inhaling oxygen and you're exhaling out carbon dioxide. Okay, so whenever you're inhaling in, what happens? What happens to the diaphragm? When you inhale, the muscles of the rib cage they contract, causing the rib cage to expand like this. Okay, then what happens? The volume of the lungs it increases, the diaphragm then flattens and moves downwards. The air pressure decreases, falling below the air pressure outside of your body, causing the areas of the greater pressure to areas of lower pressure, so air flows into your lungs. And the opposite happens whenever you're exhaling out. Okay, so this is what happens when you're inhaling and exhaling, and your diaphragm it flattens and moves downwards, and again it relaxes and rises back. Is it clear, my dears? Is it clear? You have any doubts? Girls? In this picture, you can see when you inhale, movements of the ribcage and diaphragm produce lower pressure in the lungs and the air flows in, whereas when you exhale, as you can see here, the ribcage and diaphragm movements produce higher pressure in the lungs and air flows out. Is it clear, girls? My dears, is it clear? You have any doubts so far?
It's clear.
Okay, thank you so much. So the word diaphragm is based on the Latin word diaphragma, which means midriff. Okay, so the midriff extends from below the breast to the waist, and the diaphragm is located in this area. That is why the name diaphragm has been given to you. Before we discuss about the circulatory system, I have a quick question for you. How might damaged alveoli affect the oxygen level in the blood? What happens if these alveoli are damaged? We just now discussed that alveoli, they increase the surface area for absorption. They help in the exchange of gases. So what happens if these alveoli are damaged? Damage may be due to excessive smoking, or due to any lung infection, or due to any disease like tuberculosis, or due to any accident. What might happen? Obviously, the oxygen levels, they decrease. They might decrease because alveoli are the main sites of gas exchange in the body. So the oxygen levels in your body will decrease if the alveoli are damaged. Okay, my dears. So let's move ahead and discuss about the circulatory system. How the circulatory system moves blood to all parts of the body. Okay, so the function of the circulatory system is to transport oxygen and nutrients to body cells and to carry oxygen, poor blood and carbon dioxide back to the heart and the lungs. So what is the function of the circulatory system? It not only carries the oxygen-rich blood, okay, and the nutrients to various cells of the body, but it also carries back the oxygen poor blood or deoxygenated blood and carbon dioxide, which has carbon dioxide, back to the heart and the lungs. So to do its job, the system must keep blood constantly circulating. Okay, the blood constantly circulates in your body for this circulatory system to perform its function. The main parts of the circulatory system are the heart, the blood and the blood vessels. Okay, so what are the main parts of the circulatory system? The main part, obviously, it is the heart. Then you have the various blood vessels and also the blood. Okay, the heart is the muscular pump about the size of your fist that keeps the blood moving to every part of the body. The blood circulates through a closed system, that is, blood in the circulatory system stays inside the vessels. Now, the average adult body, it contains about 5 liters or more than 5 grams of blood. You know that? Okay. 2 interesting facts are that the size of your heart is the size of your fist. When you're closing your fist, however big your fist is, that big is your heart. Okay, and the second fact is that the average adult body, it contains about 5 liters or more than 5 liters of blood. On average, your blood circulates from your heart through your body and back to your heart about every 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds, this process of blood circulation, it takes place. Okay. So this is very important. We are on page number 855 from your textbook. You have the same picture. The picture of the circulatory system. It is composed of the heart, arteries carrying oxygen-rich blood, which are in red color, as you can see in this picture, and the veins carrying oxygen-poor blood, which are in blue, and also the capillaries. So this is the picture of your circulatory system. Now the circulatory system, it has 3 types of blood vessels, which are arteries, veins and capillaries. Okay, so what are the 3 types of blood vessels which you can see in your circulatory system? Let me show you the picture clearly. Okay, so this is your circulatory system, which you can see clearly over here, which consists of heart, blood vessels, and of course the blood. Okay, so this is how your heart looks like. The heart, which pumps in, the oxygenated blood from the heart, is carried to various parts of the body, and deoxygenated blood is brought back to the body. Okay, so these, the ones when red, which you can see, are the arteries, which carry the pure blood from the heart to various parts of the body, and the veins, which you can see in blue, they are the veins. They carry the deoxygenated blood back from the cells to the heart. Okay, so what is the function of the arteries? The arteries, they are blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart to the rest of the body, which is the oxygenated blood. Whereas the veins, they are the blood vessels that carry blood from the rest of the body back to the heart. They are in blue color. Why? Because they are carrying the deoxygenated blood from the rest of the body and back to the heart. So arteries, they carry oxygen-rich blood, which is red in color, and veins, they carry oxygen-poor blood, which is blue in color. So blue is used for illustration purposes only. In your body, oxygen-poor blood is not actually blue, but a darker red color. It doesn't mean that it is blue in color even inside your body. Obviously, the blood is red in color, but the deoxygenated blood or the oxygen-poor blood, it is darker in color compared to the oxygen-rich blood. Okay, so you can think of arteries and veins as a system of mud or as a system of roads. You can see it like a road here, a system of roads. Large arteries and veins are like major highways, whereas smaller arteries and veins are like streets that route traffic through the local neighborhoods. Okay, so whenever you see in the circulatory system, this is how it looks like. You can compare it to the Google Maps. Okay, so over here the highways would be the veins and the arteries, which are broader in red and low in color, whereas the small capillaries which you can see, they are the small streets that are shown, that show the ways to the neighborhood in the Google Maps. Okay, so arteries and veins are connected by a system of capillaries. Capillaries are tiny blood vessels that transport blood to and from the cells. Okay, so these, apart from the veins and the arteries, there are capillaries which are also connected in the circulatory system. Now, what are these capillaries? Okay, so this is how a capillary looks like. Okay, so capillaries are the tiny blood vessels which connect the arteries to the veins. Okay, so what is the function of these capillaries? They transport blood to and from the cells of the body. These vessels are so small that blood cells must move through them in single file. The walls of these tiny blood vessels are only 1 cell thick, and materials can easily diffuse into and out of them. Okay, so this is how thick a capillary is. It is really, it is not as thick as an artery or a vein. It is thinner than that. So it is as thick, that much thick, so that it can transport the materials and the oxygen and various things from the arteries to the veins, into and out of them. Okay, so in addition to transporting vital supplies to the cells, the circulatory system performs 2 other important functions that maintain homeostasis. So apart from the circulation of the blood and apart from carrying oxygen to the various cells of the body, and apart from taking waste, collecting waste from various cells again back to the heart, the circulatory system also helps in maintaining homeostasis in our body. Okay, so how does it maintain homeostasis? We'll discuss about it. We are on page number 855 from your textbook still. Okay, so before we discuss that, is the topic clear so far? Girls, do you have any doubts?
No.
Is it clear about how the circulatory system works?
Yes.
You know the difference now between arteries, veins and capillaries? Can someone tell me what are the red veins which you can see in the circulatory system? What are the red blood vessels known as?
Arteries, they move the blood away from the heart.
Very good. They carry the blood away from the heart. So is it oxygen rich blood or oxygen poor blood?
Oxygen rich blood.
Excellent. And what are the blue blood vessels here?
Veins, they carry the blood from the from the cells to the heart.
Excellent. And it is the oxygen poor blood, so that is why it is shown in blue here. And what are the capillaries? What are the capillaries? The arteries and veins, they are connected by a system, as you can see in this picture over here, by a system of capillaries. So capillaries are the tiny blood vessels that transport blood to and from the cells of the body. Okay, so this is how the network, it connects the arteries and the veins. So this network of tiny blood vessels is known as the capillaries. Clear? Okay, my dears, so the next topic, which is about how the circulatory system helps in maintaining homeostasis in our body, we shall discuss in our next lesson. Okay, so I shall also send a YouTube video. I want you